Good morning all. This is Dr. D. Khalandar Basha, working as Associate Professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Dundigal, Hyderabad. Today we are going to discuss the definition and terminology related to 8051 microcontroller under the module 3. The first definition is, what is the relation between the resolution and the number of bits in ADC? That is analog to digital converter. The resolution increases with the number of bits in ADC. For example, 8-bit ADC provide best resolution compared to 4 bits. Say if I have a voltage range, let us assume 0 to some V. If we are represented with only 2 bits, the number of possible combinations we can have is only 4 possible combinations, that is 00, 01, 10, 11, which means this 0 to V volts will be divided into 4 segments. So every voltage between 0 to V by 4 will be treated as one segment. When it comes to 3 bits, the possible number of combinations are 8, which will increase as the range is divided into more number of subdivisions. So each subdivisions, the voltage ranges will get less, because of which the signal will be represented more accurately compared to with less number of bits. So the resolution will be takes place an important role for analysis or for selecting ADCs. What is the necessary of external memory interface in a microcontroller? So every microcontroller internally, that is on-chip memory, will be exist. Depending upon the application, if it needs more than the existing memory, then we have to go for extending the memory by interfacing external memory. So in 8051 microcontroller based system application is not limited to the internal ROM and RAM. So there is a provision of connecting both external RAM as well as ROM. So RAM it is for data memory, ROM is for program memory. The reason for interfacing external memory of ROM or RAM is that complex programs often tends to be larger and occupy more space. The third one, how much maximum external memory can be connected in a microcontroller with 16 address lines? So if we have 16 address lines, the maximum memory we can have is 2 to the power of 16, which you can write as 2 to the power of 6 into 2 to the power of 10, whereas 2 to the power of 6 is 64, 2 to the power of 10 will consider as 1K, so the total maximum memory we can have is 64K. So the maximum of 64 KB external memory can be connected in a microcontroller with 16 address lines. What is the need of data converters in microcontrollers? So digital processing and storage of physical quantities like sound, temperature, pressure, etc. exploits the advantage of digital electronics. More reliable in terms of storage, transfer and processing. So as the processor is executable in a digital format and the sensed physical parameters like temperature, pressure may be in analog form, then we need to convert analog signal into digital signal for processing. After processing, the output again we want to send for the devices which are functioning on analog signal, then we need to go for converting the digital data which is provided by the processor to the needed analog signal. So what is the function of timer mode register in 8051 microcontrollers? So T mode register, which is a SFR existing in 8051 microcontroller, which is of 8-bit size, and it is used for selecting the timer or counter in mode of timers. The lower 4 bits are control operation to timer 0 0, 1, 2, 3 bits are related to timer 0. 4, 5, 6, 7 bits are corresponding to timer 1. Again here we have M0, M1 bit for configuring mode. Next, either we have to make it as counter or function, then we are going to have C by T bar like this. The lower 4 bits are corresponding to timer 0 or counter 0, whereas the upper 4 bits are used for control operation of the timer 1 or counter 1. This register is present in the SFR. The SFR address for T mode register is 89H. What is the function of counter in microcontroller? So 8051 microcontroller is consist of two on-chip timers which we can also use as counter. So counter is a device that stores the number of times a particular event or process occurred. So with respect to a clock signal, it is used to count the events happening outside the microcontroller. In electronics, counters can be implemented quite easily using the register type circuits such as flip-flops. Next one is, what is the purpose of T-count register, that is timer control register of 8051 microcontroller. So the 8051 microcontroller, we have two timers which we can configure as counters also. To control these timers or counters, we have T-count register. The timer control SFR is used to configure and modify the way in which the 8051 two timers operate. This SFR controls whether each of the timers is running or stopped and contains a flag to indicate that each timer has overflow. These bits are used to configure the way in which the external interrupt are activated and also contain the external interrupt flags which are set when an external interrupt has occurred. What is the role of SCON for serial communication? SCON is serial communication register. In 8051 microcontroller, we have on-chip serial port through which we can transmit or receive the data. That will be done by configuring SCON register. So the serial control register SFR is used to configure the behavior of the 8051 onboard serial port. This SFR controls the baud rate of the serial port, whether the serial port is activated to receive the data, and also contain flags that are set when a byte successfully sent or received. How timer mode 2 operates in 8051 microcontroller. So 8051 microcontroller timers can be configured in 4 modes: mode 0, mode 1, mode 2, mode 3. Whereas the mode 2 we will call as auto reload mode. When a timer is in mode 2, the THX, where X can be 0 for timer 0, X is equivalent to 1 for timer 1. It holds the reload value when the TLX corresponding timer TL bit or TL register is timer itself. Thus TLX acts as a counting up. When TLX receives or reaches 255, in the next subsequent increment, it will be overflow from 255 to 0. In decimal, that is hexadecimal, is FF to 00. So whenever FF to 00 is occurred, so again starting from 0, the load data which is existing in THX, that will be loaded into TLX. So instead of resetting to 0, it will be reset to the value which is stored in THX. What are the events that generate interrupts in 8051 microcontroller? The 8051 have any one of the following events that can cause the interrupt: timer 0 overflow, timer 1 overflow. Receiving or transmission of the serial port can causes reception and transmission of the serial character which will generate the interrupt. External interrupt 0 and external interrupt 1. What happens when interrupt ends? An interrupts end when your program executes the RETI instruction. The RETI is the last instruction we had to write in any ISA. 2 bytes are popped out from the stack into the program counter to restore the normal program execution. Interrupt status is restored to its pre-interrupt status. What happens when interrupt is occurred? The current program counter is saved onto the top of the stack. The lower byte first, then upper byte. The interrupts of same and low priority are blocked. In the case of timer, an external interrupts, the corresponding interrupt flag is cleared. The program execution transferred to the corresponding interrupt handle vector address. The interrupt handler routine executes. What is the sequence of operations when interrupt is occurred? An interrupt is triggered whenever a corresponding event occurs. So when the event occurs, the 8051 temporarily puts on hold the normal execution of the program and execute a special session of code referred to an interrupt handler. So the interrupt handler performs whatever special functions are required to handle the event and then returns control to the 8051, at which point program execution continues as if it had never been interrupted. What is the benefit of auto reload mode? So timers, if you configure in mode 2, we will call as auto reload mode. So when the timer to always to have a value from 200 to 255, assume the count always has to take place from 200 to 255. So if mode 0 or mode 1 are used, always check timer overflow and it will reset to 200. So this take precious instruction of execution time to check whether the value and are loaded to it. When mode 2 is used, the microcontroller automatically take care of this. How timer 1 operates? So timers in mode 1, it is a 16-bit timer. For timer 0, TL0, for timer 1, TL1, that is TLX is incremented from 0 to 255. When TLX is incremented from 255 to 0, then that will causes THX to be incremented by 1. So for every TLX overflow, it will cause us to increase the THX. When THX overflows, then it will generate an interrupt. Since this is a full 16-bit timer, the timer may count up to 65,536 distinct values, starting from 000 like this. This TLX as well as 16x, 16-bit size. How timer interrupt is generated? So timer overflow occurs when register count reaches maximum and overflow to 0. That will call as rollback to 0. For example, in mode 1, the timer 1 register overflows when the register count is reaches to FFFF, then it will roll back to 000 after generating the interrupt. What is the interrupt structure of 8051 microcontroller? So 8051 microcontroller will support 5 different types of interrupts. They are interrupt 0, timer 0 overflow, external interrupt 1, timer overflow for timer 1, either receive interrupt or transmit interrupt. Each interrupt can be enabled or disabled by setting the bits of the IA register, and the whole interrupt system can be disabled by clearing the EA bit of the same register. Define the settling time in DAC. The time taken by the digital to analog converters to convert a given digital signal to corresponding to analog signal is called the settling time. So what are the different types of ADCs? So there are various ADCs are existing. The different types of ADCs are successive approximation method ADC, counter type ADC, flash type ADC, integrated converters, and voltage to frequency converters. What is handshake port? In handshake port, signals are executed between the I/O device and the port or between port and the processor for checking or informing various conditions of the device. What is the programmable peripheral device? So it is the function performed by a peripheral device can be altered or changed by a program instruction. Then the peripheral device is called as programmable device. Usually the programmable devices will have control registers. The devices can be programmed by sending the control word in the prescribed format to the control registers. What is the need of a port? The I/O devices are generally slow devices and their timing characteristics do not match with the processor timings. Hence, the I/O devices are connected to system through the ports. What are the operating modes of port A of 8255? The port A of 8255 can be programmed in any one of the modes as input port or output. Mode 0 is simple I/O port. Mode 1 is handshake I/O port. Mode 2 is bidirectional I/O port. What are the functions performed by port C of 8255? The port C pins are used for handshake signals. Port C can be used as 8-bit parallel I/O port in mode 0. It can be used as 2 number of 4 ports in mode 0. The individual pins of the port C can be set or reset in various control applications. What is the significance of C by D bar signal in 8251 USART? The C by D bar signal is used to select either the control register or configuring or the data bus buffer for read-write operations. What are the different types of methods used for data transmission? The data transmission between 2 points involve unidirectional or bidirectional transmission of meaningful digital data through a medium. There are 3 methods of data transmission: simplex, duplex, or duplex. In simplex, the data transmission will be takes place in only one direction, from sender 1 to sender 2. No data transmission will be takes place from sender 2 to sender 1. Whereas duplex, the data transmission will be takes place from sender 1 to sender 2 as well as sender 2 to sender 1. At what time this data transmission taking place between both at the directions will be differentiate duplex and off duplex. In duplex or full duplex, the transmission and receiving of the data will be takes place simultaneously. Whereas in off duplex, either the transmission of the data takes place or receiving of the data will be takes place at a time. In this session, we have discussed few definition terminology related to the third module, where it is consist of 8051 microcontroller, 8255 programmable peripheral device, that is PPI or PIO. Next, USRT, which is 8255. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.